we often, I think, will feel depleted, depressed, and empty. Like there's something wrong with us. And maybe we're trying to fit in the societal standards, but it's just not working for us, and it makes us feel so unhappy. In this episode, I'm going to talk about burnout and depression. Something that I've gone through before I essentially changed my life, before I went through a spiritual awakening. And I know that this is something that I haven't really talked a lot about on my channel, even though it's been a very pivotal time. It was a very pivotal time in my life and a big chunk of who I am today. So I wanted to dedicate this episode to what I found within depression, what it may be telling us when we're feeling that way, and how you can potentially shift your life when you're currently in it. So if that's something that you love to learn more about, then stay around. How does it feel to be alive, to be free? Are we truly in the here and now, or are we living a dream that we created? Close your eyes to see clearly. This is life on purpose. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of On Purpose by Lynn. For those of you who are new here, welcome. My name is Lynn and I share with you everything you need to know about personal development and spirituality so that you can create your best life and so that you can rise to your fullest potential. If that's something that you're interested in, then make sure to subscribe. So before I start this video, I want to say that if you're in a position in your life, when you're in a phase in your life where you are experiencing depression, burnout, anxiety, anything like that, I want to say that my heart really goes out to you, and that it's really okay to seek help and to ask for help when you're moving through that. I wish in that time that I was moving through depression that I had someone that could help me to get clarity, to find those sparks of joy and inspiration again, and to understand what was actually happening with me. Before I'm going to actually share with you what I've learned through depression, and before I share with you my views on what this might be, I want to share that I haven't studied depression. This purely comes from my experience with it and what I believe it was telling me in my life. So that's something that I really want to say before I start. Okay, with that having said, to give you a little bit of context, when I was moving through depression, it was in my early 20s. I was taking on a lot of different things in my life. I was studying, I was working, and I was doing a lot of extra activities just because, in my opinion, my studies weren't challenging enough for me. What I was doing wasn't challenging enough for me, and I was always kind of used to being challenged. And so I started to seek out more things to do so that I could feel that I was growing. But as I was doing that, I was actually taking on so many responsibilities, and I absolutely 100% did this myself and did that to myself. And I just couldn't, it was too much for me. I couldn't fulfill the expectations that I had, and I tried to meet the expectations that I had, and that eventually made me feel completely burned out. I was in a situation in my life where I felt that I was constantly overstimulated. I was snappy at my room, like the people that I was living with, on the little things. I felt often overly emotional or not emotional at all. Like I either felt a lot or I didn't feel anything. I couldn't sleep anymore. My motto at the time was, I'll sleep another time. Sleep is not important. And I don't want to make this really, really long, but this is essentially what brought me into burnout. And when my good friend told me that she was worried about me, I started to change certain things and I started to let go of certain responsibilities. And I started to have a lot of space in my life because I thought, you know, I started to feel this way because I was doing so much, and now I had this infinite amount of time and space for myself, and my thoughts started to spiral. And because I was in a very negative mindset and I believe very negative things about myself, I started to spiral and spiral and spiral until I actually felt I didn't really want to be here anymore. And I didn't really speak with anyone about being in depression. I wasn't even quite aware that I was in depression. I knew something was quote unquote wrong with me. Nothing was wrong with me, but I knew that how I was feeling was not normal. And so I started to spiral and spiral, and I couldn't really find anyone who could help me at that time. I reached out to psychologists. I went to my general practitioner and I started working with a psychologist. I didn't feel like it was a fit for me. And I just felt really, really, really alone. And I felt really, really deeply unhappy with my life, and especially with myself and who I was. Now, maybe you're finding yourself in a similar situation and you don't know what's going on. You don't know why you're feeling this way, and you're trying all these different things like I was, because I started to try different things to see if I could finally feel better. And I put even more expectation on myself and more expectation on I should be better by then. I should be better when I'm doing this and this and this. And so eventually I started to shift my life when I gave up on the need to be a certain way, to achieve certain things in life. And I started to more surrender and just being with whatever felt good to me in that moment. And I started to shift my life. I started to follow my intuition more. And through following my intuition, my entire life actually shifted. So in my experience through going through this, and luckily following my intuition really, really changed my life. So in my experience, what being depressed was for me was living in an environment that was not good for my mind, for my health, for my spiritual well-being. For someone who is quite sensitive to just energy and people, which I didn't know at the time, I wasn't in the environment. I was living in Amsterdam. I was surrounded with a lot of things that stimulated me, and being in that environment wasn't good for me. Being on the path that I wasn't good. Well, eventually it was good for me because it kind of shifted me into this whole different experience. But what I mean with the things that I was doing, I was so focused on finishing university, working in a job, trying to be the perfect girl, living up to the standards that I thought was normal, would make me happy. And to me, as a sensitive human being, that wasn't the right thing for me in life to do. And so as a result, I started to not feel okay. I started to feel unhappy. And to me, the lesson that I really, really took from me, because I didn't literally work on my depression, I just started to shift my life to things that really excite me, and my depression naturally started to disappear. So what I learned from that is that maybe when we are simply not doing the things that is in true alignment with who we are as a human being, as this not even a human being, as a spiritual being, the spirit that we are, then we often, I think, will feel depleted, depressed, and empty. Like there's something wrong with us, and maybe we're trying to fit in this societal standards, but it's just not working for us, and it makes us feel so unhappy. And that's what I found. So in my, I don't know what the terminology or the definition of depression is, but in my experience, that is what depression was for me. It was me not being aligned with who I am and what I'm supposed to do in this world. Like I just said, how can you maybe change this? I'm not saying that this is the cure, but I can say that if you're like me, then perhaps shifting your life from instead of following what you've been conditioned to think, following whatever makes you feel good in the moment. And I'm not necessarily referring to short-term gratification, maybe I am, but maybe just experimenting with this feeling of, you know what? I'm just gonna follow whatever makes me feel good. I'm just going to follow, even if it doesn't make sense to what I've learned or how I grew up or how I've been programmed. I'm just going to follow the path that feels exciting to me. Maybe there's intuitively you feel drawn to certain things. Maybe intuitively you feel that you just want to learn something. For me, it was learning to surf. I was so curious and intrigued and almost like passionate, obsessed with learning to surf, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to learn that. And through following that passion, I actually changed my complete I actually shifted my entire life. So sometimes even listening to the smallest of signs in your heart, in your intuition, in your gut, can help you to lead you to multiple different events, meeting different people that could inspire you to start living in a way that fills your soul, that not depletes it, but fills you up with that energy, with that joy, with that spark for life. And maybe you feeling that way is not saying, and this is definitely true, you feeling depressed doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. It means that maybe the things that you are doing are simply not in alignment with who you are. And hopefully this message will find you at the right time. I trust that this message will reach those who need to hear it most. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for sharing your energies with me. Let me know in the comments where you guys are tuning in from, because I'd love to get to know you. Let me know what resonated with you. If there's anything that resonated with you, any similarities, anything that you're going through right now. Also, commenting what you're going through could help people see that they're not the only one going through this, and we could find support with supporting each other in that journey, because life isn't always easy, especially when we're moving through things like that. My heart truly is with you. If you have liked this video, please like this video, click that like button, and share this video with anyone who you think could benefit from this message right now. I recently started a brand new podcast, which you can find in the link in the description below, or you can check it out directly on Spotify or Apple Podcasts if you want to listen on there. It's called Returning Home with Lin Lim, and check out my Lightworker merchandise if you want to support me on my journey of fulfilling my purpose, putting out content for free 3 times a week, and you'll also be wearing awesome merchandise that will help to spread the message of love, light, positivity, and awakening with the world. Thank you all so much for being here. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to my channel so that you will be notified with every single episode that I upload. And I truly think that this is it for now. Remember, we have such an exciting future to look forward to, even if it doesn't seem like it right now. Thank you so much for being here, and I'm looking forward to see you in the next video. Bye for now.